I just love IOD's Very Merry Christmas transfers that they came out with this year, and so I wanted to see what I could put them on, and basically went around my house and picked up things that I had that I could transfer these onto. This is a book that I had painted with black chalk paint. I picked this up at Michael's. It was on sale like last spring or something for like 70% off. These are always handy to pick up for certain projects. So here I'm trying to figure out, I want to make the colors look somewhat like the transfer with the greens and the browns and kind of a muted color. So this is the back of the book, and I'm just kind of testing what colors work. So I'm using the Tim Holtz line from Ranger, a Distress Oxide Spray, and then a Distress Spray Stain in Antique Linen. Here I decided that I didn't want to, I wanted to keep my workspace clear, so I decided to put down some paper here. So the Distress Oxide Spray actually doesn't absorb very well, so it wasn't the best choice, but I wasn't sure what was going to work. And here I'm just experimenting. So I sprayed it on. I'm going to use a paintbrush here, as you see, and just kind of spread it out. But again, I'm just playing around, trying to get kind of a muted woodsy color. So it takes me a little bit to figure out what I'm doing and what I'm kind of trying to accomplish, but the end result turns out good. I'm going to go in with some paper towel and just kind of dab things and makes it look a little textured. So I will finally figure out kind of what I want to do, and then I'm going to flip it over and do the same process to the front. So this is kind of the final look that came out for the front, which I'm happy with. I'm then going to go over everything with Mod Podge because I do want to seal it in so that nothing will kind of leak through to the transfer, which I don't think it would. And then as you'll see here, it just kind of, the Mod Podge kind of smears things around, but it actually turns out okay. It'll look fine once it dries clear, and it gives this a nice color on the side as well. So it matches the front and the back of the book. And then I'm going to go through the process again for the inside of the book. As you can see, there's some white spots there. That's from the paint actually peeling off when I close the book up, but I'm going to touch that up at the end with some black chalk paint. So now I'm just going to take the transfer that I cut out, and I'm going to use this handy dandy little scrapey tool, and I'm going to scrape it on, and you peel it off. Sometimes it takes some work to get this on, depends on what is underneath, and then you burnish it with the paper that you peeled off the back of the transfer. So on the inside I have this cute little wreath, and again burnish it, and it's all set. I'm going to put some greenery on it that I pulled off from some pics, and this is how it turned out. It's really cute, and you can open it up, you can put your remote in it or whatever you want. I have some coasters that I made. I could put the coasters inside the store, so I really like how that turned out. So this next project is I took some tiles that I had lying around the house, and I'm just going to cover them with some white chalk paint to give them a nice base. I tea stained a bunch of music paper that I had from Christmas music that I had. I had a couple of books of Christmas music in our piano bench that are not being used. So I went ahead and I dyed these with a tea stain, and then I dried them in the oven so they're nice and crispy and brown. And I'm going to go ahead and use this in this project, putting it kind of on the back of the coasters. but I decided that they were too white, so I'm going to go ahead and take the, what is this? Folk art chalk paint. No, that's not it. Sorry. That's the wrong thing. I have my notes here and I got the wrong thing. It's the Craft Smart Antique Wax. And I water it down really well, and I'm just going to paint it on and then wipe it off. And putting Mod Podge on the back of the note paper, go ahead and put that down, put the transfer down. And I love this whole, like I said, the Fairy Mary transfers from IOD. I love all the little ones they have. There's I couldn't even tell you how many there are, maybe 20, 25 different transfers that you could use. And so there's a lot of different things that you can put these on. Again, I'm going to go ahead and burnish this, and then I'm going to distress it with distress ink in photo or vintage photo. And so I'm going to go ahead and put that down. This is another one. I'm not going to show you all the ones that I made, just a few of them. And then I did make a total of 6 of them. I put the little felt pads that you get for your chairs or your furniture. I did put those on the bottom so that they won't scratch each other or they won't scratch the furniture. Here is some tracing paper that I had also tea stained, and then I pressed some flower petals in them and let that dry. And so I'm going to go ahead and use that as the back of one of or a couple of these coasters as well. And here I forgot to paint the sides, so I'm going to go ahead and give that a nice little distressed look as well. So here are the coasters all done. I'm really happy with how they turned out. And like I said, I can put them in the book that I made if I want to store them in the book. And these can come out for holiday parties and to keep the furniture safe from spills. This next project, I have an old sign that I picked up, not an old sign, but a sign that I picked up at either Salvation Army or the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to go ahead with the black chalk paint and paint that up to give it a base color and to hide everything. And then here I'm using this is the folk art chalk paint in Imperial. And then I go over it with this crackle. I forget what it's called. I didn't write down the brand. Sorry. It's not in my notes. Anyway, you put this crackle down. You can also use Vaseline, I heard. So you go ahead and put this down, and before it dries, you put a coat on top. And this is just the chalk paint that I'm putting on top. And then as I dry it, you'll see that it'll crackle. You can let it dry on its own, or I prefer just to use a heat dryer because I think it gives it more crackle, plus it also speeds up the process. So what you see underneath is going to peek through is the Imperial red color, and so that makes a nice little distressed backdrop for whatever you want to use it for. Again, I'm going to use this sheet music that I have for the background. I use this a lot, and again, distress it up a little bit and go ahead and Mod Podge it down. You could glue it down if you want. I do Mod Podge over the top of everything when I am finished, just to give it some extra protection. To keep everything consistent, I go ahead and I distress it, and here it is all finished with a little greenery on the side of it, and I love how this one turned out as well. So this was a giant tag that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. I think it was a Thanksgiving tag. And again, I used the black chalk paint just to give it a nice once over to hide everything underneath, going over it with the Imperial and then this crackle type thing. And again, I'm going to use the white chalk paint to go over that and watch it crackle up in when I dry it. I think that's fun to watch, especially in fast speed. And grab some more sheet music here and figure out which one I want to use. And I'm going to fussy, it's called a fussy cut, I think, when you kind of rip it on the sides and give it a little bit of fussiness and distress it. And it's kind of the same process with all of my projects here, is to just distress it. I'm using sheet music, Mod Podge everything down, put the transfer on. This is a wreath transfer, obviously, as you can see. And I'll put some greenery on that one, and I tie the little like ribbon it had on the top, and that one's all done. And again, like I said, I Mod Podge everything over just to give it a protective coating so that nothing gets stained or whatever if something accidentally gets spilled on it or whatnot. And there is the finished giant tag. I'm not sure what you call it, but it does look like a giant tag. Here I have two little boxes. They had pictures inside of them, so again I just went over them with the black chalk paint and then did the whole process that I did before to crackle it, taking some words from the sheet music and just tucking it in the back here, and I'll go ahead and put on the transfer and then add some greenery to this one as well. The nice thing about these transfers too is that you can cut off what you don't want or what you don't need or what doesn't fit. You don't have to use the whole thing, and you can save the other pieces for another project. And just a word to the wise, if you are not used to putting basically plastic greenery on your projects with hot glue, the hot glue will melt the greenery, so be careful, especially careful. Using a hot glue gun, you should be careful anyway so that you don't burn your fingers, but you also don't want to get your fingers stuck in the melted plastic there, so be careful when you're pressing these down and know that the plastic of the greenery will melt a little bit. So here I'm tucking some in the corners with some extra berries, and yeah, that's it for these ones. These turned out really cute as well. They could be hung on a little wall or put on a shelf maybe in your bathroom or somewhere. Here I'm taking my dinner break. Nobody was home, so I didn't cook dinner. It's just frozen chicken, some mashed potatoes out of the box, and frozen corn. One of my favorite meals to be honest here. So here I'm taking another one. I'm kind of scoring it where I want it to fit on this Crown Royal bottle. I have so many bottles in my house. I love bottles of all sorts of sizes, so I kind of collect them and use them for projects. So here I am watering down some Elmer's glue, and I'm adding different colors again to try and match the color of the box so that they sort of match together a little bit. So I'm just going to mix some greens and browns and golds together in this mixture of water and glue, and I'm going to go ahead and paint the bottle. I want it to have kind of a frosted look, so that's why I'm doing this. Then I'm going to go in with that Imperial paint and go over the raised areas on the bottle to bring out some of the highlights of this. I do have to say that putting a transfer on a bottle is one of the easiest things you can put on. It goes on very simple, so that was nice. So now I'm just taking some green. I'm going over the red because I thought the red was just a little bit too bright, so I wanted to mute it a little bit because the colors in the transfers are a little muted, like I said. I did go ahead and paint the cap as well with some reds and some greens. And here I am just picking through my various picks and greenery that I have. This is a cool little kind of a string of bells on it, so I'm just going to wrap this around the top and just play around with things and see what you like and what matches your decor and your project, and just do what feels good to you, what makes you happy. And here I am just gluing those on, and this is probably one of my favorite ones. I love how this bottle turned out, and I actually I'm going to make some more because I think that these were easy and a lot of fun to make. This next one was pretty easy as well, pretty quick. I picked up a bunch of these frames at Salvation Army, I believe, and I'm going to take it apart and open it up and clean it up a little bit. And the transfer itself did not fit over this whole picture, so I'm taking some sheet music, which is fine because that's kind of the theme of everything. And I just transfer it on there. Go ahead and just put some tape on the back. And this is the second one that I'm doing. Again, just fussy cutting the paper or the music sheets and gluing that on the back. And then you just put your scrape your transfer on there, put it back in the frame, and it's all set. And like I said earlier, these are probably the easiest of the projects that I use the transfer paper on. This one I really love. I love her face on this one. So those are all the projects I've done so far with the Very Merry Christmas IOD transfers. I'm going to put a link in the description. I get mine from online from Sweet and Sassy Treasures. You can only get them from online or in-store sellers. So mine is, again, Sweet and Sassy Treasures. She does mail, so if you need to, or ship, so she can ship them to you if you need to. So thanks again for watching. This is Jeannie with Bakers Unify, and have a DIY day.